How are you doing?
Hello, Francis. Happy 2021.
Happy 2021. So many wonderful questions I have for you today. This is at least my second or third time having the pleasure of interviewing you. You've been on Imagine Talks, I think, probably during our third year. And this was prior to you writing your book, Melting Pot. And this was probably like soon after one of your TV appearances on being on Check Please, which was amazing. And of course, I think you've been on several different appearances since then. But I have so many questions that I want to ask you. But before we dive into some of my questions, let's just have the audience get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do today.
Awesome. Yes. So my name's Samantha Mui. And most of you would know me by being in the kitchen or cooking or whatever it is. I've been blogging since 2015 while I was living abroad in China. And I've actually worked in and out of the food industry since I was 15, which was a long time ago. And I just have a huge passion for food. And I also have a huge passion to share storytelling through food, and really showing people that cooking is actually something very easy. And one of my goals now is just to empower millennials in the kitchen, because I myself am a millennial and I like to eat good, but I don't like to cook like grandma. So I love to teach people how to get to the results of getting grandma's food, but in a short period of time, in a way that makes sense with limited resources and tools. And that's just how I am in the kitchen and just in life, being scrappy. And so I want to showcase all of that.
Awesome. All right. Now, one of your most recent, and talk about showing people on basically how to be scrappy in the kitchen. One of your most recent appearances was very recently on Food Network's Supermarket Stakeout, right? I think that was season 3, episode 2, Carnivores Unite. Which
5, yes.
yes, and it was got a chance to watch it. So entertaining. Your personality definitely shined through in every moment. I loved that episode. Tell us a bit about what was it like being on TV, being now as you're climbing and getting more and more notoriety and your presence. Um, what's it like, basically being on TV, learning and comparing yourself, and meeting other food lovers and creators? But what's it like being on TV, cooking on TV, and being under that kind of pressure as basically a foodie slash food creator now?
Wow, that's a kind of a loaded question. The pressure, I guess I'll focus on
Yeah.
that. To be honest, when we've talked off camera about this, and I told you I almost passed up on the opportunity because I was like, I don't know if I want to make an ass out of myself on national TV, right? Because I was like, for me, actually, I haven't really cooked commercially in a kitchen. I
Mhm.
am more on the other side of things where I'm reviewing restaurants, talking about food, the trends, and all those different things. So for me, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, if I decide to do this opportunity, I'm first of all, I'm gonna be myself, and that means being true to how I cook. So I made a pact with myself before going on the show, and I said, I'm not gonna make pretentious food because I want people to like be into whatever it is that I'm making. And like I'm gonna cook the way that I've always cooked, which
Mhm.
is, simplified, um balancing flavors and all those different things. That was how I was going to be. And so when I was actually in that scene and in that competition at the time, it was just kind of like I was actually having fun because there was no pressure, and I never told myself I needed to win. My thing was like, my goal was always to just share my story or on a platform such as that, and kind of, I don't know. I just wanted to just keep cooking. Like I wanted to get to the next round so I could showcase another thing, another
Mm,
kind of food I wanted to make or whatever it is. But I've always wanted to share that joy. And I really like, I was watching it myself, and like, it's not even the food that I'm proud of. It's like I watch myself as a person who, has doubted myself in the past when I was younger. I went to culinary school right after high school, which was like kind of everybody kind of questioned, like, what are you doing?
mm,
And that when I watched the show, it like it validated like all the little choices that I made to be true to who I was. And that is what I'm most proud of. And that is why like the pressure, yes, there was pressure, but there wasn't that type of pressure of like I needed to be something, I needed to win or whatever it was. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with the overall results. Yeah.
cool. So what have you learned being on the TV cooking reality show? Like, what are things that are so unique in some of your life lessons? Because that's something that many people in the world just cannot say in their life, that they were able to have that kind of experience. What are some things that you've taken now that you think have made you not just a better chef, but also a better person going into your life philosophies?
Mm, yeah. That's a really good question, actually. What did I learn? Um, Again, I go back into this and I always say this. And I think actually, it's funny. Remember, 2017 was when I did the Imagine Talks, or
Hmm.
2018. And we all have like our little like Instagram posts. And
Hmm.
I remember my quote was like, always, trust your inner convictions and your intuition. And I think that's how, that's what I learned more than, because you don't have a lot of time to do what you need to do, and you don't know what you're going to cook and all these different things. And I really lean into that intuition that's always helped me get through life. I mean, I honestly don't feel like I am the smartest person out there, nor do I claim to know like all my craft or whatever it is. I just always leaned into like, there's this quote that Oprah always tells young people, and she always says that, if you don't know what you're gonna do, like a lot of us have these like big goals, like, down the road, and we're like, we need to be this by this time. But Oprah says that, you know what, you just need to do best right the next best move for
Right.
yourself. And by leading into that that will help you arrive to a better outcome. And
Right.
I also think that that relates in the kitchen. For me, I didn't know half the stuff I was going to cook in that show. I was going by, okay, this makes sense. All right, then I'm going to do this. And if this makes sense, I'm going to do that. And so I feel like for me, it's just always about leaning into that and really kind of bringing that intuitive parts, whatever I do. Yeah.
Okay. Now, and you also mentioned, and I'm going to rip off that a little bit. You mentioned how you were definitely, and I saw this in the show when I was watching it, that you were kind of a little bit portrayed as the underdog, right? As the scrappy underdog, which definitely came through. So, how is that philosophy um, in the kitchen? How does that translate to you? Also, do you see yourself also being the scrappy underdog in life in general? And what are some of the philosophies that you see blending in back and forth between kitchen philosophy and your life philosophies?
Yeah, I 100% think that I've always had this reoccurring theme in my life, that I was kind of an underdog. Even when I was younger, I was bullied. When I was, I was, there was a point in my life where, people made fun of me because I wasn't in this specific social economics class, or not, in terms of like financially or whatever. Um, and, I was not always great with academics. I've always been in this place of like not having, or like being on this place of like having to either prove myself or
Hmm.
whatever it is. I think for me, that has been a really great valuable lesson to myself, because what I've realized is that, you know one you know, being an underdog has a lot of advantage
Mhm.
because for me, a lot of times I don't expect to come in a room people to be like, oh, Chef Samantha, or you know, she knows what she's doing with the cook. There's been so many times I've worked like in the restaurant, and you know, I've been, you know, been told to do other like little stuff just because I'm a woman, I'm bubbly, I have this, and I already know going into these type of arenas that people are not gonna be like, yeah, like I would have to earn it. And I think that's why it's made me work a lot harder in certain aspects to actually earn that right to be a specific thing or specific, you know, to earn my right to be there. And also what I've learned at like being an underdog or whatever is that, you know, to always talk about those stories, and I always remind myself where I came from, because it's so easy for people to love who you are when you're doing great things and whatnot. But I always try to remember the times where I was really lacking, because that always reminds me of like I can also I can sense a person who also feels that same way. And there were a lot of people who were able to look at me and thought of me in a better light and help me get to a place where I was comfortable with myself. So having being able to feel that and know like my surroundings and stuff like that has helped me greatly to really even connect with people.
Okay, fantastic. So
I don't even know if did I even touch up on your question, or did I just go on a
no, I think
tangent?
you did. I think you totally did. How your philosophy of essentially being true to yourself. I think that comes through like, um, so I'm seeing is that your philosophy of cooking is really taking tried and true recipes, but then making them your own with your own spin, with your own versions, with your own like ways that have not been done before, right? And so I see that a lot in your own life where people throw you at certain things or you have to work with certain things, but now you're at a stage where you create your own version of that, and it works for you because it's in sync with your personality, with your philosophy, what makes you happy, what brings you joy. And I think that's a huge lesson that many people, um, I see that as a recurring theme constantly. Like, here's these all these square holes, right? But then the person who is not necessarily perfectly square or round or even octagon are trying to fit in these holes, and you
Yeah.
just can't, right? What you need to do is essentially, if you can't find an octagon or a round hole and you're a round peg, you need to go and make a round hole.
You make your own shape.
Exactly. You make
Yeah.
the
No,
environment.
I do want to touch up. Yeah. No, and I want to touch on that because that's a really good point, Francis. Is like, you know, I attribute a lot of what I gone through as a child in my childhood
Mhm,
to where I am now, because I never felt like I had a safe space to be who I truly was. And
mhm,
I never felt like I had an environment that allowed me to be
mm,
Sam. And so I've always constantly had to create these safe spaces for myself to feel comfortable to be who I truly wanted to be. And
mhm.
a lot of times in my life, as I was learning who I truly was and what made my heart skip an extra beat, you know, I compromised on things that weren't me or whatever it is. And so now, you know, I am constantly trying to figure out if I see something that is like doesn't feel like a place that if I see a need for something, I just want to create it because,
Mm.
you know, that is how I've always saw the world, that you don't have to be X, Y, and Z. There's so many avenues for people to go through. Like the society is not that kind to people who have different desires and wants in life. And so for me, I try to use food as a avenue to connect to people. Um, and yeah.
I love that. Love that. And you and I have talked about life philosophies and people's how they sometimes try to strategize and they have role models. And you know, one of our both of our favorite um, inspirational thought leaders is Oprah, right? And
Mm.
our message to a lot of people, especially the younger people, is like, don't try to like put a lofty goal up there and be like, okay, by age 25, by age 30, if I do not have X, Y, and Z, then I failed, or this I must have this, is or bust, right? And her philosophy was, or is, just do the next best thing and see where that leads and follow the thread. Do the next best thing and see where that leads and follow that thread. And I love that. That makes the most sense to me as a normal human being.
Yeah.
So saying that, what you're a food blogger, you have a strong presence both on TV constantly. You have a book out now. What's the next best thing for Samantha coming up now?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I'm actually I'm actually in a place after 2021. I had taken some time off for myself, and I realized I actually don't have that much of a plan. I don't have too many big plans. I just really want to actually this year. This sounds kind of probably kind of, you know, this is definitely my personal goal is just to listen to the sound of the beat of Sam more, because I think last year at least, like with the book and everything that was
Mhm,
happening, I felt like in some ways I got lost in that ambition of wanting to do
mhm,
more and more and more
mhm,
versus I haven't been really like tuning in to me. And I think like I want to take some of that time to really tune in to like how am I doing, what am I, the things that I'm doing now, is it still the things I'm passionate about?
right.
So yeah, I definitely feel like, I just want to take some time off and figure out what it is that, is sustainable 10 years from now, 15 years from now, or 20 years from now. So yeah.
What's what have what have you learned in terms of the importance of being able to take time off and recenter and recharge? Like, why is that so important for someone who, or for anyone for that matter, who has these lofty goals? Like, why is it so important to, in your opinion, in your experience, to be able to have this moment and just re-examine yourself?
Yeah, because I feel, you and I have had many conversations offline about this. We're both ENFPs on my rig, so we're extroverts, but we're kind of on the verge of being introverts as well. Like for me, I need at least 2 to 3 hours of quiet time with myself. Like that's
Mhm,
just how I've been. And, I couldn't be a person that could give if I didn't take time for myself. Because so many things happen on a day-to-day basis where someone emails you this and then all of a sudden you're pulled in this direction, someone tells you about a new opportunity, you're pulled in that direction. And I think it's so important to have that time with yourself because it recenters like what is your true purpose in life, what is it that makes your heart, I say it all the time, what makes your heart skip an extra beat. And it's very easy to be pulled in so many directions, and
mhm,
they could be
mhm.
all really good directions, but if you're over time, like you can get burnt out by all those opportunities or whatever it is. And it's just so important to just like continuously like check in with yourself, and only you know what's right for you. Um, and you know it's so worth the investment to tap into yourself and connect with yourself.
I love that, and I couldn't agree with you more, especially when you're balancing the whole extrovert introvert a borderline right there. We only have a few minutes left, but do you have any advice for people out there, especially now as we're going into 2021, and I see hope
Mm.
in this year compared to what we had last year. I see obviously a vaccine. I see people being able to eventually have some level of human contact safely once again, and travel and engagement. For people who want to go out there and start their own thing, especially like getting on TV shows, reality shows to showcase their talents on a larger stage. What are things that, any last bits of advice for people who are just starting to build out their own brand right now? Like, you've been so successful, and I had the privilege of watching you grow in this. What are some key advices people who want to build their brand out there now?
A lot of it, I think, is following what makes sense to you, what is natural to you. Because I will say that for like when I was growing up as a teenager, I was always doing what everybody else was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's dancing, I was dancing. Someone's doing this, I was going to do that. I never, and all along, cooking was something so natural to me, you know, and I would just say, stay in your own lane. And I know that sounds kind of like, woo, like, why would you say that? Because I truly believe that when you stay in your own lane and you develop the things that make sense to you, that are natural to you, like, you don't become obsessive about what this person's doing, what that person's doing. You get so into what you're doing, and it's like you constantly are excited to wake up in the morning to do these things. And, naturally over time, like, you become like the expert of whatever you're doing, because you didn't even realize, like, you were so passionate, the passion just took over. And I think that's like the best advice I could give someone, because you know life is hella short. And actually, this is my second advice. So a lot of people don't know this, but I took a detour I worked in senior care for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot, again, that was not natural to a lot of people. Like, it didn't make sense in my trajectory. I just came out of grad school. I decided I wanted to go into senior care. And part of me, and at the time, it made a lot of sense for me because I learned about life. And when I realized I learned the most important life lesson, I was able to walk away from that industry knowing that I gave my all. Because what I learned uh, you know, as I'm coming to my 30th birthday soon, I'm learning that life is hella short. And at the end of life, two things matter. One, did you do right to yourself? That means, do you have any regrets? Did you take care of yourself? Did you do the things that you said you were going to do? And two, did you do right to other people? Did you let your ego get in way of your relationships, or did you not say I love you? Or you didn't get to really showcase your love to certain people? Like, those are the two questions that people ask themselves when they're near death. And I saw a lot of death being in the senior
Mm-hmm.
care industry. And when I was able to realize, like, that's the biggest life lessons I've taken, that's when I really truly started honing into this food stuff, because I realized how life is short, and you only got one life. You got to live it to the fullest, and love the people that are around you, and so that is my best advice. You know.
I love that. I couldn't think of more wise words to end this amazing talk with you on. So that's all time we only have for. Thank you again. It's always such a pleasure. So insightful to talk with you. Every time I talk with you, I learn something, and I can see you constantly just growing leaps and bounds each time. So thank you again for being on the show. And I look forward to finally being able to see you in person. I hope in 2021, when we are finally at a stage where we can finally be together again. Okay?
Thank you so much, Francis. Always a joy talking to you.
Likewise, take care. Talk to you soon, Sam. Bye.